Now let's begin in Central Africa, where violent clashes erupted in Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, as police clashed with opposition protesters during the march. The demonstrators, who deviated from the authorized route, were met with tear gas and arrests by the authorities organized by opposition leaders. The march aimed to denounce alleged irregularities in voter registration for the upcoming December presidential elections and voice grievances regarding the soaring cost of living. President Felix Tshisekedi was accused of corruption and faced criticism from the opposition. Undeterred by the repression, the opposition leaders vowed to persist in their demand for social change and announced plans for another demonstration in front of the National Electoral Commission headquarters. The clashes between the police and protesters in Kinshasa have sparked concerns about the state of democracy and human rights in the Democratic Republic of Congo ahead of scheduled December 20th presidential elections. As the situation unfolds, it remains to be seen how the government will respond to the calls for change and whether the upcoming election will be conducted in a free and transparent manner. Now, joining us live from Toronto in Canada, we have Gedeon Beleke, a political and diplomatic analyst, joining us from Toronto. One welcome to you, Gedeon, and thanks for joining us on the conversation. Now, Gedeon, could you kindly unmute your device, please? Okay. Now, Gedeon, what specific grievances and irregularities prompted the opposition protests in Kinshasa, and how do they relate to the upcoming presidential elections in terms of transparency and fairness?
First and foremost, I would like to specify something critical. People are allowed constitutionally to demonstrate or to express themselves even through a demonstration. It's guaranteed under the Article 26 of the Congolese Constitution, which means the mobilization of the masses, the protest was legal. And the other thing, the DRC is in a regime we call a regime of information and not a regime of authorization. And that is guaranteed as well constitutionally. So when we write, for instance, we are planning to organize a protest, we can write to the authorities to inform them that we are planning to hold the protest, and that was done constitutionally. And even though we don't receive their authorization, it's constitutionally written in the DRC under the Article 26, as I mentioned. People can still go and do their protest, but they have to do it peacefully. And the opposition organized a peaceful protest. The people who came to disturb this protest are the police officers and some other people from the current regime, the UDPS. They have a group of young people who decided to invade the protest and organize all these turmoils. And so the protest turned into a fight, a brutal opposition between the police officers and some of these young men who were used by the regime in place to create chaos and so on.
Now, Gedeon, one of the reasons why Congolese citizens decided to protest was because of alleged irregularities during the voter registration process. Can you elaborate on the specific complaints that have been raised by the opposition regarding voter suppression, manipulation of the voters' list, or any other forms of electoral misconduct that led to this protest?
It's, of course, unfortunate to see that the Tshisekedi's regime, they were in the opposition a few years back. They were in the opposition, and Tshisekedi used to condemn such acts during Kabila's regime. He used to be in the opposition. He used to condemn when Kabila's regime used to impose oppression on people, when they used to oppress protests, when they used to kill people during the protest. But unfortunately, he is now holding office and he's doing the same thing. It's actually it's regrettable to see Felix Tshisekedi, who was a prominent member of the opposition, repeating the same mistake. And of course, people have the legitimacy to demonstrate. They have the legitimacy to protest. The living conditions in the DRC have been deteriorating. The Tshisekedi's regime is not performing as the Congolese people is not fulfilling the Congolese people's expectations, and the living cost of life keeps on increasing every single day. The living conditions of the people are being deteriorated. We have the crisis of insecurity. He promised to restore security. He promised to create an electoral body, the Senate, that is impartial. But right now, they are designing a Senate that will lead us to fraudulent elections again. Instead of dismantling the system, Tshisekedi is now perpetuating the system. He wants the established system, the status quo, to continue being perpetual. He was in the opposition fighting the same thing, but today it's unfortunate to see Mr. Felix
is repeating the same thing that
what he's been fighting.
Joseph Kabila did in his administration. Now, Gedeon, I'm happy you talked on the subject of high cost of living, and this is not only unique to the DR Congo. Can you provide details of the protesters' claims regarding the high cost of living and corruption under President Felix Tshisekedi's administration? Are there specific economic indicators or instances of alleged corruption that the opposition highlights to support their accusations? Is there evidence that points to this alleged corruption?
We have plenty of evidence. The price of bread was less than 500 Congolese francs. Today, the price has skyrocketed. The price has almost tripled. And that's a huge problem, of course. Secondly, the economic condition has worsened, seriously worsened in the DRC. Like right now, we have a crisis of maize in the Katanga region. We don't have access to maize. The price of maize has skyrocketed as well, and the prices are being negotiated in South Africa instead of creating conditions where we can exploit our land and produce our own maize. So they always create this shortcut mechanism where they fund what they call retro commission. It's a form of corruption that they've legalized in the DRC, where all politicians always seek their interest in all states funded projects or state-led initiatives in order to enrich themselves. So they've created a sort of oligarchy today. Instead of working effectively for the people, they've created a minority of people who are enriching themselves at the expense of millions of Congolese who are living under abject poverty. And that is unacceptable. That's why people have the right to stand up and to demonstrate, to protest, because the life is becoming ruthless and difficult in the DRC.
Absolutely. Now, back to this protest. In the clash between the police and protesters in Kinshasa, were there reports of excessive use of force, human rights violations, or any instances where the police deviated from acceptable crowd control protocols? Has the government responded to these allegations?
Absolutely. The police was unprofessional, cynical, and they behaved as agents of the regime in place. And we have to take into consideration the fact that there was not only one demonstration in Kinshasa at the same date. Even the regime in place, they saw the opposition planning for a protest. They decided to organize their own protest as well, just to counter the protest of the opposition. I'm not taking side of the opposition here, but I'm taking side of the millions of Congolese who are living under horrible conditions and who deserve to have good governance, who deserve to eat, to have meals at their table. And we have here authorities who are trying to create all possible mechanisms in order to silence the people who are trying to express their conditions, the critical conditions they're living in. And that is an unacceptable act. It's a condemnable act, and we should not allow such kind of things to be perpetuated in the society. We have in front of us a vicious cycle, a systematic vicious cycle that is destroying the Congo, that is destroying the future of millions of young Congolese, that is destroying the current DRC, and it's not conducive for any development. And until we break that vicious cycle, I fear that we will continue to languish under this so-called political system designed by these oligarchs.
Now, Gedeon, quite a lot for the ordinary Congolese people to deal with. There's the problems of security in the eastern part of the country. You also highlighted the high cost of living, and also the CENI, the Congolese Electoral Commission. Some feel they're not as independent as they should be, and this was what led the people to the streets in Kinshasa and other parts of the DRC. Now, who were the primary organizers of this demonstration? And what's their broader political objectives and aspirations? What do they want? What kind of change are they advocating for?
The demonstration were organized by a coalition of opposition leaders, namely the Moise Katumbi, Martin Fayulu, the former Prime Minister Matata Mponyo, the Honorable Dedise Sanga. It's a coalition of opposition leaders who have their own political parties and who decided to organize this protest to express or to stand in solidarity first and foremost with the population, because when poverty is being weaponized in a society, people living in what we call a Stockholm syndrome, where they don't see it, they can't express themselves freely, or they can't stand up against the system. So we need leaders who can be able to take that leadership and tell people, look, we are under these circumstances because we have a leadership that has failed us. And there is a necessity to create a leadership that allows or that puts the interest of the people at the core center of every state project. And we lack that at this particular moment. The opposition leaders, they organize this, but it's widely known. There is insecurity crisis in the DRC. Tshisekedi, when he got power, he promised to resolve the insecurity crisis in the DRC. He's finishing his mandate this December. He hasn't resolved the issue. He promised to improve the living condition of the Congolese people. Up to date, he has never created employment in the DRC. He promised employment to the young people. There is no employment. He promised infrastructure. We don't have infrastructure. He promised to fight corruption. But still, under his government, he has corrupted ministers, people who are found guilty, even went to jail for corruption allegations, but now they are minister under his government. It means he's doing the contrary of all that he has advocated for, and that is not notable for a leader. We trusted in Mr. Felix Tshisekedi, but today he has disappointed us, and the people should take charge of themselves, of their own lives. We can't continue to bet on a leader who seems to do not care or to do not provide sustainable solutions for our problems.
Now, Gedeon, when I ask you about the organizers of the protest, you did rightly say it was organized by a coalition of opposition political parties. One name you mentioned there struck out, Moise Katumbi. He's one of the richest men in Congo. But could you provide an analysis of the factors that led to the falling out between Moise Katumbi, that is now protested against President Tshisekedi? They used to be bodies and they were in good terms together. How have the differing political trajectories and ambitions impacted the dynamics of the opposition movement and the presidential race?
Yeah, I'm not a spokesman of Katumbi or Ensemble pour le Changement, his political party. I'm not affiliated to their political party. But as a matter of fact, a rational person, someone who is rational, cannot support the current leadership in the DRC because it has failed to meet the promises they've given to the Congolese people. The leadership of Felix Tshisekedi has failed to meet the needs of the Congolese people. And I consider Moise Katumbi as a rational politician. He decided to do not join the Union Sacrée, the sacred union that was created by Felix Tshisekedi, because he considers that they don't have the same state vision. They don't have the same political perception. They don't have the same political ideology, and they don't have the same aspiration for the Congo or for the Congolese people. That's why I think Moise Katumbi didn't join the Sacred Union, and he decided to join the opposition and to fight Felix Tshisekedi, because it looks like Felix Tshisekedi is just perpetuating what we fought for during the 18 years reign of Joseph Kabila.
Now, I heard the Congolese parliament, I mean, it might be under the table sort of debate of altering the Congolese constitution so that President Felix Tshisekedi could contest for a third term. Is there any truth to that, or is there any reason to be concerned that this might be a possibility?
I don't think there is evidence for that particular project. But if they are planning it, they will meet the people on their roads. They will meet the people, and we will not allow them to do it. You know, we are a young democratic nation, and we cannot accept or support such kind of backwardness. It's a backwardness trying to change the constitution for political advantages. It's a backwardness, and that's a threat to our democracy. We will not allow it. As Congolese, we will stand firmly in front of any particular project like that. But I don't have proof that they are planning to
still an allegation at this point. Now, Gedeon, Congolese Human Rights Minister Albert Fabrice Puela condemned acts of repression and brutality against demonstrators, including minors, in a statement. Has any action been taken to address these concerns?
He condemned, but we need actions. Responsibility have to be drawn. You know, we actually saw kids being beaten. That's unacceptable. It's a total violation of international law, total violation of international humanitarian law, or the Convention for Protection of Kids and Children. It's totally unacceptable, and we need the responsibility to be drawn. We need those police officers to be sanctioned. We need their leaders who allowed the police to mobilize themselves in Kinshasa and to beat the people who are protesting peacefully. We need them to be held accountable as well. We can't just hold the police accountable. We need to hold accountable those who are giving orders to the police, those who gave the orders to the police to go and do what they were doing on the street. They were beating people, and we actually saw some police officers using some machetes. And at the same time, as I mentioned, there was three protests in Kinshasa. One protest supporting the regime in place. The other one was for the opposition. And the protest that was led by the UDPS, it was well protected by the police officers, and nothing happened there. Why did they go and oppress the opposition leaders or the opposition protest that was conducted as well peacefully? Because they had a bad plan. They had a plan to silence the opposition. They had a plan to silence people who are requesting for their human rights, defending their human rights, going at the forefront and defending their country, and that's unacceptable. So they are playing politics, and the politics they are playing is costing lives of people. We have people who died in the protests. We have people who are injured, and all those people need justice. That's why responsibility should be drawn, and some people should be held accountable for those actions, including the authorities who allowed such kind of acts. So what the minister is trying to say is trying to play politics, and we can't play politics when it's people's lives. You know? We have to condemn such acts, and we have to draw responsibility, and the international community should sanction as well these people who are abusing of human rights.
Now, Gedeon, what is the political landscape of the upcoming presidential election in the Democratic Republic of Congo? Who are the major candidates, their political affiliations, policy platforms, and their potential impact on the socio-political landscape? Are you hopeful that, looking at the crop of politicians, the leading politicians in the Congo, that they might finally bring this desired change that the Congolese people desperately need? Positive change?
The Congolese political landscape is volatile and really dynamic. So what we will see in the upcoming future is creation of coalitions. Right now, we've seen as well some coalitions, but we'll determine the major candidates in the few coming months. But as for now, we have big names such as Moise Katumbi. We have the former Prime Minister Matata Mponyo. We have the former presidential candidate Martin Fayulu. We have as well the current president Felix Tshisekedi, who of course will be running again under his Sacred Union coalition. We have those big names, and we hope the opposition will be wise enough to form a strong coalition so that they can have all the chances to win the elections. But the other thing is the current regime has programmed everything. They are designing an electoral commission that will lead the country to fraudulent elections. And that's why the opposition is calling again for a demonstration before the Senate.
Now, how sustainable are these demonstrations, and could they actually lead to the change that the people want? Or it's a tall order? Would it make the Senate more independent and democratic going forward? How often is the opposition planning to keep up with this protest?
I think they should keep up with the protest for as long as they can, because that is it's a democratic way to express our frustrations. It's a democratic way to express what we want to see in our country. So it's a democratic way to express our constitutional rights, to express our freedom, and people should demonstrate whenever they feel like the regime in place or the authorities are not meeting their needs. It's a democratic form to appeal our request in a society, because we don't have power, and the opposition doesn't have power. So the only thing they have is demonstration. But I don't believe that the demonstration will create a condition that will favoring a development, or will reach a condition that will favoring a systematic change. Because, as I said, our country is a victim of a vicious cycle. That's why we need a systematic shift. And the systematic shift can only occur at the state where the DRC is right now. The systematic shift can occur through a design revolution. So we need to move away from opposition and go to a popular revolution that will actually change the entire system and the way politics is designed in the DRC. That will help and will sustain the DRC, will sustain the development plans for the DRC, and will help the country to move forward in the right direction.
Now, Gedeon, finally, before I let you go, in light of President Felix Tshisekedi's tenure since assuming office since 2019, what would you say has been his significant accomplishments and challenges his administration has faced? And how have these prospects shaped how have these factors, shaped his prospects for re-election and influenced the perception of his leadership amongst the Congolese population?
The president, Felix Tshisekedi, had good intentions. We have to acknowledge that. He had good intentions, but the intentions are not sufficient when it comes to leadership. You need as well the political capacity to do it. He doesn't have the political capacity. The other thing, seems like he doesn't have the authority to impose himself as a leader and say, this is the vision I'd like to impose on the country. And the last thing, Felix Tshisekedi has failed to project himself sustainably, to come out with a sustainable project for the country. All he has been doing is taking decisions that are irrational, that are not well coordinated, that are not well thought, and that's a danger to the country. We've seen the decisions he's been taking, calling in the SADC, then asking the EAC to leave the country, calling in the EAC, and all those myriad of things he has created a form of cacophony as the head of states, And it shows that he was not prepared to manage a country such as the DRC. Maybe he doesn't have the total capacity to manage the country, because all he has been doing is taking shortcut decisions that are now affecting the country. And that has proven that he was not well prepared head of state.
Thank you very much, Gedeon Beleke. I'm afraid this is where we have to draw the curtains in this conversation. I do appreciate your insight and analysis on this subject, Gedeon Beleke, political and diplomatic analyst and also activist, joining us from Toronto, Canada, to discuss the political situation in the DRC. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.